Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I'm male 23. In August 2017, I was in a bar and I ran into an old friend. I was talking to her and she had her hand on my shoulder and we were flirty and so on. Her friend came out of nowhere and kicked me in the stomach as hard as she could, for no reason. Apparently, she's a mean drunk and thought I didn't know the girl I was speaking to and was trying to protect her. I hit the ground immediately and I couldn't breathe and everyone was staring at me and didn't know what to do. I was just dying on the ground for a few minutes when the bouncer basically dragged me out and the girl I was talking to was just apologizing. My stomach killed me so much, so I immediately Ubered it to the hospital and it turns out there was some damage done by this kick, but since I went to the hospital as soon as possible, they were able to operate and save it, but it will gonna take a long time. Obviously, I was extremely mad and I filed a police report and thankfully, the cops took it very seriously and got video footage from the bar, eyewitness account statements from everyone, including the girl who kicked me. The girl reached out to me numerous times and apologized, but I didn't care. I wanted her in jail. The police told me they have gathered enough evidence to charge her and that due to the video and witness statements, the charges will stick, but it will be up to the judge on how harsh of a punishment she will get. They suggested that she will get a light punishment because she's a straight-A student, never been in trouble, parents are wealthy and she has retained a great lawyer. Also, she's a white 20-year-old girl, so that plays a huge part. The cops recommended I just take a written and verbal apology from her and her lawyer contacted me and told me she wants to become a teacher, so she won't be able to become a teacher if she has a criminal record. And he gave me her written apology in advance, hoping to sway my mind. I rejected all of this and pushed on towards charges. About 2 years later, she was convicted and she spent about 3 weeks in jail, paid a fine, and has community service, and most importantly, she has a criminal record and now can't be a teacher. She contacted me many times before the charges were laid and begged me to drop them, saying that she was just drunk and never hurt anyone before, and it was a mistake. But she literally hurt me so bad for no reason, and for that, she had to pay. I've had so much fun reading through other people's posts on here that I decided to share my own story of revenge. Hope you guys enjoy it. So, some backstory. This took place over 10 years ago during summer break of my freshman year of college. My friend had asked me to come stay with her at her family home in the southern US. And so I flew out there to visit for a couple weeks. At that time, she and I were both casual pot smokers. So the first order of business upon arriving was finding some weed. As it turns out, my friend had no connections in the area. Frustrated, we turned to her 15-year-old niece, who lived there year-round and also occasionally smoked, to see if she could put us in touch with a dealer. Now I know we should have expected things to go wrong relying on a network of a high school student, but at the time I was only a year out of high school myself, and this idea seemed viable to me, if not ideal. Anyway, enter our victim, let's call him Joe, a 15-year-old from my friend's niece's year, and a budding pot dealer. Pun intended. Niece gives Joe a call. He agrees over the phone to sell us an eighth for $50. We arrange a meeting spot for the drop. Some hours later, Joe's car pulls up, and he and a friend are in the front seats, kind of smirking and avoiding eye contact with us. This unsettled me, but my friend and I put it down to boys being boys. We hand Joe the money, and Joe hands my friend a crumpled paper towel and speeds off. At this point, I'm very suspicious. A paper towel? Really? But we open the paper towel and confirm our fears. It's empty. My friend and I are enraged. Niece tries to help by calling Joe, but Joe is luxuriating in his success and smugly tells Niece that he doesn't know what she's talking about. His friend is just laughing in the background of the call. What Joe doesn't know is that he just made a terrible decision. and his life is about to go very, very wrong. A week goes by and my friend and I have given up on appealing to Joe's sense of reason. And calling the police is out of the question, of course, because at the time pot was illegal. We called him many more times and tried everything from sweet talking to begging to threats. But Joe was not interested in returning our money. We decided to take a look at his Facebook, and inspiration struck. You see, Joe had at some point thought that it would be a good idea to make his Facebook profile picture an image of himself smoking a blunt and making a truly stupid-looking gangster face. And my friend and I immediately decided to help him with his budding business. We couldn't help him with his customer satisfaction ratings, but we could at least take care of the PR and marketing. So we mock him up with a beautiful pro bono flyer that reads, "Looking for some good buds? Call me, Joe Schmo, for a seriously dang product at prices so good it's almost a steal." And then we left his phone number. And of course, we put Joe's Facebook picture in pride of place above the text. We print out 50 of them. We decide that he needs a different marketing approach when it comes to his younger demographic. And we use some project board and fun block letters to handcraft him 2 kid-friendly posters with gentler wording and a more playful color palette. I feel like we made solid design choices and that we were ready to push forward with our marketing strategy. We waited until our last night in town before flying north to stay at my place for the remainder of the break. At 2 a.m.-ish, we pack our marketing materials and bike over to the local middle school. Now, if you're from a colder climate like I am, you may be surprised to learn that some schools in the south have an entirely open hallway system, as in classrooms housed in buildings, connected by open-air bridges and stairs. This worked out perfectly for us. We climbed the gate and plastered every surface we could find with Joe's ads. Every pole, every window, every stairwell, every landing and door on both floors. Next, we biked over to the elementary school and put up our kid-friendly ads in view of the recess and play area. We both fly back north the next day and think no more on Joe Schmo until my friend receives a call from her niece a few days later. Apparently, our flyers had not been too well received by the local middle school administration. Poor Joe was called before the school deans to answer for them, and he and his mother were forced to attend a disciplinary hearing. Though Joe denied all the charges, the picture on the flyer clearly showed Joe dipping into his own stock, and the provided number was registered to his mother. As such, Joe was suspended and escorted from the school by local police, in front of a captivated audience of his peers. His home was searched, and 3 marijuana plants were confiscated from the premises. Apparently, in some strange domino effect of justice, Joe's very public fall from high school coolness led to his girlfriend leaving him for his best friend, according to the niece who had a front row seat to the fallout. Poor Joe had been suspended and made into a spectacle. He lost his business, lost his status, lost his plot plans, and lost his girl and best friend. And he was forced to do some sort of community service for the summer instead of stealing from other would-be customers as he had assumably planned. But I'd like to think Joe learned a valuable lesson about the importance of good customer service that week. Oh, and about stealing from people who have access to damaging information about your life. In high school, I worked for a big-name hardware/home improvement store. The store had just opened up in our little town and it was set to knock the local hardware stores out of business. You had to drive at least 40 minutes to the next closest chain store of its kind. We were busy all the time. The local stores, lumber supply, mom and pop hardware, tractor supply, equipment rental, and others were all losing business to us. I think the fact that we were performing in excess of our expectations played an impact on what happened next. My boss, we will call her Carrie, was the one I brought all issues to concerning theft. I almost entirely facilitated training, safety and moving stuff around the store, but I technically worked for the loss prevention. I did not know at the time but learned afterwards that Carrie was trying to pinpoint lost money from the registers and she reviewed the camera footage until she figured out who took it. We will call him Zach. Zach was in my graduating class, so that's likely why I didn't find out about it until it was all over. They were sure that he had stolen about $80 from the registers and had the video footage to prove it. But that money was already gone. Carrie wanted to do more than just fire him. She wanted to catch him in the act, in front of other staff, then fire him. She had his schedule changed so that he would work a closing shift in the coming days. Closing shifts typically means the store manager and most of the management staff is gone. She figured if he was going to do anything, he would do it on this day. If not, she was just going to fire him anyway. She stayed well beyond her normal schedule and quiet skipped tabs on him. She locked out, and while he was taking boxes out of the dumpster, he ended up taking a box out to his car, caught in the act, and she walked him back into the store to her office and processed him. They did the normal stuff, documented the event, the item that was trying to be shoplifted, and had him sign the paperwork and fired him. What usually happens in these events is we ban the person from shopping at the store. We put their information in the system and tell them to not come back. But in this instance, given the MSRP of the equipment he tried to steal and the $80 he was going to get fired for anyways, that brought the total to just over $500, which was just enough to be a felony theft. They involved the police and took him to court. Since he signed off on the theft and was caught by the loss prevention manager on the day it happened, there was not much defense for him. The judge gave him some community service. The real great part of the event was the addition of a felony to his criminal record. Before school was over, Zach had lost all of his basketball scholarships. I don't know what compelled him to steal that power tool, but I doubt the rush of getting away with it was worth it. He couldn't pay for college on his own, so he never went. He cuts hair and smokes pot now. Me and my husband, 28 female, 29 male, are in a chicken breeding club, which provides an allotment garden-like structure. We joined a year ago and got to know Klaus, an old man who actually lives in one of those sit gardens. At first, he was very kind, helping out 1 or 2 times, but after a while he got very greedy, telling us to help him in his garden, sell stuff for him on eBay or care for his chicken. Some people said we should keep our distance from him, but we did not listen. He regularly invited us to drink a beer with him, acted like he knew all of town, is well known, and has many connections. But the real thing was, yes, he was known, but for all the bad reasons. We talked to him a lot in the first few months and noticed he's highly addicted to alcohol and tries to make a dime out of everyone and everything. You know the saying, blood is thicker than water? Not for him. At first, he helped us out. For example, was giving us some tools for free or giving us some money for working over at his place. Also, we kinda felt bad for him, living your last days in a garden shed, but after a while he gave us near to nothing for our work. No money, broken tools, so garbage we had to dispose of, not even a thank you. He also started to talk to us in a very demanding tone, old male Karen-like. Instead of messing with him, we started to simply distance ourselves from him and not doing any more work. His last effort to win us back was to buy 20 wheat plants and put them in his garden and show us. He knew we smoked. But as soon as he demanded we sell his future 5 kilos, we backed off again. As others noticed we didn't hang out with him anymore, they started to tell us how Klaus truly is. He started to live there as soon as another club member, since dead, lost his home and lived on his farm over there. As for the rules of the club, it's not allowed. If he's allowed to, Klaus had to be too. Klaus lived there for 14 years, not because he got homeless or another stroke of bad luck in life, but because he wanted to live as inexpensively as possible. We learned he had loads of debt. No wonder, considering how much he drank. We found out this is the case since he was old enough to drink. He tried to rip everyone off of their money since ever. his brother, his best friend, and even his wife. Some say if she was still alive, he would steal his own mother. As the weeks went by, we learned more and more about him. That he had done this with nearly everyone who joined the club, not only with us. We saw it too as a new member who's also mentally disabled cut his hedge for him for 16 hours and got 20 bucks. And no thank you. Klaus started to dislike the way we stayed out of his way. So his response to that was to talk crap about us, even threatening us to tell others that we smoke. It's illegal over here. I mean real full-fledged lies. For example, we would owe him 200 bucks. We would do parties till late at night at the farm. We would hit our dogs. At that last point we snapped. We bought a drone, made pictures of his weed plants, and got police involved. Get them before they get you, I guess. Klaus peacefully sat in the club's community house, drinking beer, 9 o'clock in the morning, as 10 police officers walked in, going directly into his garden. Little Klaus turned his head around like an owl and immediately stood up and walked outside. He asked one of the cops, "Hi, can I help you?" And they asked for his name. "Oh, Mr. Klaus, we were actually looking for you." Behind the officer talking to him, the other cops raided his farm, not only finding the plants, but they themselves discovered he lives there. Living room was obviously used bed, food leftovers, a TV, and so on. They asked him where he has his address, and he told them the address of his long-deceased brother. They sent a car to his address but found no clue he could be living there. By the way, he also got money from the state. Social benefits also meant to cover his rent. The rent on his farm is 30 bucks a year. So huge no-no. Money fraud is one of the worst things you could do over here. The cops stayed at his farm for the next 4 hours, collecting evidence. The whole farm surrounding were patrolled by some cops, so word spread like a wildfire. Every single farm owner got over there to see what was happening, cheering that this douche finally got what was coming for him. After ripping off so many people, it was amazing. This dude had 14 years to make this farm his little hidey hole, making money out of it. He had split the whole community, gave us a bad name overall, and not even breeding chickens. He just had them to sell the eggs. To his luck, he was clever enough to tell the cops it's only CPD. Still illegal but not as much, so they had to send it in to test it. Buying him some time. The club held a meeting, and that was a mess show. As soon as this topic started, he said we planted them there, that he only gave us a little plot. Most laughed and some said nothing. We voted for his eviction, had to as of the rules, and he got 15 against him. Just 3 voted for him to stay. While he will already have a very nice time with the police, with all the charges they have against him, our personal revenge against him is also not over yet. We'll keep you updated. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.